So hey guys, this is your favorite fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the son of Kratos and Freya, the god of hope, Naruto x the Valkyrie sisters, god of war. But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. Chapter 1. Blood of Gods, Heart of Shinobi. Naruto Uzumaki stood motionless atop the Hokage monument, his silhouette stark against the crimson sunset. Konoha sprawled below him, a village that had never truly been home. The wind carried whispers of families gathering for evening meals, of children being called inside, of doors closing on warm, welcoming homes. Sounds that had always been distant to him. His fingers traced the spiral tattoo on his stomach, the seal containing the nine-tailed fox. Yet lately, strange markings had begun appearing alongside it, angular, foreign symbols that burned like embers beneath his skin during moments of intense emotion. The why vanished just as mysteriously as they appeared. They're getting stronger, he murmured to himself, rolling his shoulder where phantom pain lingered from this morning's incident. During training, he'd accidentally channeled something that wasn't chakra, something ancient and violent that had scorched the training ground and left him trembling with power he couldn't name. Kakashi had dismissed it as unstable Nine Tails chakra. But Naruto knew better. This was different. This felt like inheritance. A distant memory flickered, a deep, graveled voice speaking words in a language he shouldn't understand but somehow did. The rage of Sparta flows in your veins, boy. The last rays of sunlight caught his golden hair as he leapt from the monument, descending toward the village with inhuman grace. He landed without sound, a skill he'd developed not from training but from necessity. Years of avoiding villagers who saw only a demon container, never the child within. Late again, loser. Sass. Yuke's voice cut through the gathering dusk as Naruto approached the bridge where Team 7 often met. Had things to figure out, Naruto replied, uncharacteristically brief. The usual boisterous retort died on his lips. The burning on his forearms had returned, and maintaining his carefree facade required more energy than he could spare. Sakura tilted her head, studying him with unexpected concern. You've been different lately. Is everything okay? Just fine. He forced a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Believe it. The phrase fell flat, hollow even to his own ears. In truth, he'd spent the afternoon attempting to decipher the markings that appeared on his skin. He'd searched the archives in secret, looking for anything resembling the strange angular symbols that resembled neither kanji nor any script known to the shinobi nations. Kakashi materialized in a swirl of leaves, his visible eye immediately locking onto Naruto with uncomfortable intensity. The Hokage has requested our presence. Apparently, there have been incidents in the northern forest. What kind of incidents? Sasuke asked. The kind where seasoned jonin return babbling about giants and talking animals. Kakashi's tone remained light, but tension lined his shoulders. Trees frozen in impossible patterns. Weapons that shouldn't exist. Something stirred in Naruto's chest. Recognition without memory. Wolves? He asked suddenly, unsure why the word sprang to his lips. 3 pairs of eyes turned to him in surprise. Yes, Kakashi said slowly. Giant wolves. How did you know? Naruto shrugged, uncomfortable under their scrutiny. Lucky guess. The mission briefing was brief and unsettling. For weeks, the northern forest had been experiencing anomalies, strange weather patterns, unfamiliar creatures, and most disturbing, accounts of landscapes that shifted and changed as if parts of another world were bleeding into their own. As they departed through the village gates, Naruto felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him. High above, perched on a temple roof that shouldn't have supported her weight, a figure in silver blue armor watched with ancient eyes. Hildur, youngest of the Valkyrie sisters, observed the boy who carried the blood of gods in his veins, the boy whose existence threatened the barriers between worlds. He doesn't know, she whispered to the raven perched beside her. Odin's wisdom. He doesn't even know what he is. The bird cawed once before taking flight, carrying her words across realms to ears that had long awaited this confirmation. 16 years earlier, Kratos had come to the land of fire seeking exile from his own blood-soaked past. The god of war, slayer of pantheons, had crossed boundaries between realms that should have been impermeable, driven by visions of a land untouched by the gods he had come to despise. The forest where he emerged bore scars of recent battle, the air thick with smoke and death. Warriors with strange powers had fought here, not gods or demigods, but mortals wielding energies he had never encountered. His bare feet pressed against soil saturated with blood and something else, chakra, though he didn't yet know its name. That was where she found him, Freya, the witch of the woods, the former queen of the Valkyries, who had pursued him across the boundaries of realms. "You cannot hide from what you are, ghost of Sparta," she said, stepping from between trees that bent away from her presence. "Not even in this godless realm." Kratos' hand moved to the blades of chaos on his back, weapons he had tried and failed to abandon. "I did not come here to be hunted, witch." Freya's laugh was like winter sunlight, beautiful but without warmth. "If I meant to hunt you, god of war, I would not announce myself." Her eyes surveyed the battlefield around them. "This world has its own wars, its own powers. Did you think to escape godhood by finding a realm with different gods?" "There are no gods here," Kratos growled. "Only mortals with unusual gifts. Is that what you sense?" She moved closer, unafraid of his legendary rage. "This world is different, yes, but not godless. Its divine forces simply take different forms. The energy these mortals manipulate, they call it chakra. It originated from a divine tree, from beings these people considered gods." "Then I have chosen poorly." Kratos turned to leave, but Freya's next words stopped him. "Or perhaps you've chosen perfectly." Her voice softened. "This realm needs protection, Kratos. It stands at a crossroads. Odin has sensed it. He will come eventually." Kratos faced her, amber eyes narrowing. "And you tell me this because I too seek something different. Vengeance has been my purpose for too long." She extended her hand, palm up, a small light dancing above it. "Perhaps we both need to build rather than destroy for once." Neither could have known then how their alliance would evolve, how the hardened god of war and the bitter witch of the woods would find in each other not just purpose but healing. Nor could they have foreseen that their union would produce a child marked by both their powers and the unique energies of this realm, a boy destined to become the bridge between worlds. Naruto. Focus. Sakura's sharp call yanked him back to the present. They'd been traveling for hours through increasingly dense forest, and the atmosphere had grown heavier, charged with something ancient and unfamiliar. "Sorry," he muttered, shaking off the strange vision, a memory that couldn't possibly be his. Yet the image read. A pale-skinned warrior covered in red markings and a golden-haired woman with eyes that held centuries of knowledge. "We're approaching the anomaly zone," Kakashi announced, slowing his pace. "From here on, stay alert. Nothing is predictable." The forest around them had changed subtly. Naruto noticed it first. The trees were the same species but somehow different, their bark patterned with whorls that resembled the mysterious markings on his skin. The air carried unfamiliar scents, metallic cold, ancient stone, and something wild that stirred recognition deep within him. "It's snowing," Sasuke stated flatly, extending his hand as crystalline flakes descended through the canopy. "In Fire Country, in summer." Sakura's breath fogged before her. "This isn't natural. That's why we're here," Kakashi reminded them, though his visible eye betrayed concern. "Spread out, 10-meter radius. Look for anything unusual." Naruto moved deeper into the altered forest, drawn forward by an instinct he couldn't name. The snow beneath his sandals crunched with an almost musical quality, unlike any winter he'd experienced in Konoha. Each breath filled his lungs with air that felt older, heavier with meaning. The trees thinned suddenly, revealing a clearing that hadn't appeared on any map. At its center stood a massive boulder split down the middle, revealing a cave entrance lined with glittering rime. Surrounding the stone, 9 wolves sat in perfect formation, each the size of a small horse, their fur silvered with frost, eyes gleaming with intelligence far beyond animal awareness. Naruto stepped into the clearing, and as one, the wolves turned to face him. "Son of the marked warrior," the largest wolf spoke, its voice a growl that somehow formed words. "You have come at last." Naruto froze, unable to call out to his team, unable to retreat. The wolf's words echoed in his mind, awakening something primal and powerful. I'm not," he stammered, but the markings on his arms flared to life, glowing orange-red beneath his skin. You bear his markings and her magic, another wolf said. The time of convergence approaches. The All-Father stirs. What are you talking about? Naruto found his voice at last. Who am I supposed to be? The lead wolf rose and approached, its massive paws silent on the snow. You are what you have always been, child. Blood of gods, heart of shinobi, the bridge between realms. Naruto backed away, bumping into something solid. He spun to find not a tree but a woman, tall and slender, adorned in armor of silver and blue, her helmet crowned with raven feathers. Her eyes held the same ancient knowledge he'd seen in his vision. Hildur, the wolf acknowledged with a bow of its massive head. You risk much, Freki, the woman, Hildur, replied. The time is not yet right. The barrier's thin whether we wish it or not, the wolf countered. Better he begins to understand now. Naruto's heart hammered against his ribs. Who are you? What's happening to me? The woman's eyes softened slightly. I am Hildur of the Valkyries, chooser of the slain, daughter of Odin. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are far more than you know. Before he could respond, shouts erupted from the forest. His teammates had noticed his absence. The wolves vanished like mist, melting into the shadows between trees. Only the lead wolf remained, fixing Naruto with an amber stare. Seek what waits within the stone, it said. Your birthright, your burden. Then it too was gone, leaving Naruto alone with the armored woman. Your friends approach, Hildur said. I cannot remain. But know this. Forces long separated now converge. The rage of Sparta and the magic of the Vanir flow in your veins alongside the power of the nine-tailed fox. When you are ready to learn the truth, call my name under moonlight. She pressed something cold into his palm, a small pendant bearing the same strange markings that appeared on his skin. Now go, she commanded, stepping backward into shadow. Find what awaits you in the cave. It has called to you since your birth. When Kakashi burst into the clearing seconds later, Naruto stood alone, the pendant clutched in his fist, snow melting around his feet. Naruto, what happened? You can't wander off in a... Kakashi stopped abruptly, seeing the cave entrance. What is this place? I don't know, Naruto lied, tucking the pendant into his pocket. But something's in there, something important. Sasuke and Sakura arrived, weapons drawn, scanning for threats. Where did all these tracks come from? Sasuke asked, noting the massive paw prints surrounding Naruto. We need to report this, Sakura suggested, eyeing the cave with suspicion. Wait for backup. No, Naruto said with uncharacteristic authority. Whatever's in there, it's meant for me. Before anyone could stop him, he strode toward the cave entrance. The angular markings flared across his skin again, illuminating the darkened passage with orange-red light. Naruto, wait, Kakashi called, but his voice seemed to come from another world entirely. The cave interior defied logic, larger inside than physically possible, its walls etched with stories told in an unfamiliar pictographic language. Yet Naruto could read them somehow, understanding tales of a god who slaughtered his own kind, who carried blades bound to his arms by chains forged in deepest suffering. The passage descended sharply, the air growing warmer rather than colder. Volcanic heat rose from below, along with a pulsing energy that called to something in Naruto's blood. He emerged into a circular chamber whose ceiling opened to the sky above, now dark with gathering storm clouds. In the chamber's center, half buried in hardened lava, stood a simple stone pedestal. Atop it rested two curved blades connected to chains, weapons that seemed to breathe with malevolent life. The blades of chaos. As Naruto approached, memories that weren't his own flashed through his mind. A mountain peak where gods dwelled, a man with red tattoos wielding these very blades against impossible enemies, a beautiful golden-haired woman casting spells to hide something precious. And a baby with whisker marks on its cheeks, being entrusted to a white-haired man in red robes. Lightning split the sky above, illuminating the chamber in harsh white light. The blades seemed to drink in the illumination, edges gleaming with hungry anticipation. Those aren't meant for mortals, came Kakashi's voice from behind him, uncharacteristically solemn. Good thing I'm not entirely mortal then, Naruto replied, the words emerging from some deeper knowledge awakening within him. His hands moved of their own accord, reaching for the twin handles. The moment his fingers closed around them, pain seared up his arms. the chains unwinding, elongating, then wrapping around his forearms in a burning embrace. He screamed as they sank into his flesh, bonding with him on a level beyond physical. Images flooded his consciousness. A mountain falling as gods died, a beautiful woman with sad eyes placing a gentle hand on his infant forehead, a fox with 9 tails bowing before a pale warrior, and finally, a throne room where a one-eyed figure leaned forward with sudden interest, whispering, "So the boy lives." Naruto. Sakura's panicked voice barely penetrated his consciousness. He stood transformed. The blades of chaos now extensions of himself, orange-red energy flowing through the chains and into the markings on his skin. No, not markings. Tattoos. The same crimson patterns, worn by the pale warrior in his visions. "I'm okay," he managed, though his voice had deepened, gained a resonance it hadn't possessed before. The weapons hummed with destructive potential, yet he controlled them with instinctive ease. As if he'd wielded them in another life. "What are those?" Sasuke demanded. Sharingan activated as he studied the chakra. "No, not chakra, something older, flowing through the blades." "They belong to my father," Naruto said with absolute certainty, though until this moment, he'd never known anything about his parentage beyond vague assurances that his parents had died heroically during the Nine Tails attack. Kakashi's visible eye widened with something beyond surprise, something approaching fear. "That's impossible. Your father was the 4th Hokage." Naruto shook his head, chains clinking softly as he moved. "No, that was a lie told to hide the truth. My father is something else entirely." The chamber began to shake, dust and small stones raining from above. The storm outside intensified, thunder cracking with such force that the ancient stone walls trembled. "We need to leave," Kakashi ordered. "Now, whatever's happening here is beyond our mission parameters." For once, Sasuke didn't argue, grabbing Sakura's arm and pulling her toward the exit. But Naruto remained still, the blades of chaos pulsing in time with his heartbeat. "It's too late," he said softly. "They know I've found them. The barriers are weakening." "Who knows?" Kakashi demanded. "Naruto, what aren't you telling us?" A roar echoed from the forest above, not animal, not human. But something in between. Something massive was approaching, drawn by the awakening power. "Draugr," Naruto whispered, the knowledge rising unbidden. "The undead warriors of hell. They've come for the blades, and for me." Kakashi stared at him, visibly struggling between his duty as team leader and the unprecedented situation unfolding. "How do you know these things?" "I don't know," Naruto admitted. "But I know how to fight them." Without waiting for permission, he raced up the passage, the blades trailing fire behind him. He emerged into chaos, the clearing now filled with lumbering, blue-skinned humanoids with glowing eyes and ancient armor. They carried axes and swords of unfamiliar design, moving with unnatural jerking motions. The first Draugr lunged at him with surprising speed. Without conscious thought, Naruto flicked his wrist, sending one blade flying outward on its chain. It embedded in the creature's chest, and with a powerful pull, Naruto yanked the monster toward him, impaling it on the second blade as it arrived. The corpse erupted into blue flame, crumbling to ash. "Aim for their heads or hearts," he shouted as his teammates emerged from the cave. "Regular weapons will slow them, but they'll keep reforming unless you destroy them completely." Kakashi's eye narrowed as he lifted his headband, revealing his Sharingan. "Those aren't any undead I've encountered before. They're not from our world," Naruto explained, chain blades whirling in deadly arcs around him. "They're from Helheim, the realm of the dishonorable dead." "And you know this how?" Sasuke demanded, narrowly dodging an axe swing before countering with a fire jutsu that temporarily drove his attacker back. Naruto had no answer that made sense. He simply knew, as if remembering rather than learning. The blades of chaos moved through these enemies with familiar ease, each strike precise and devastating. Sakura focused on defensive tactics, using chakra enhance D strength to create barriers of broken earth that slowed the Draugrs' advance. Whatever they are, there are too many. She was right. For each one Naruto destroyed, 2 more shambled from the Incree. A singly dense fog that had encircled the clearing. They needed something more, something to close whatever breach had allowed these creatures into their world. The pendant in his pocket burned suddenly, almost painful against his thigh. Naruto dodged another attack, creating space between himself and the nearest Draugr. His fingers closed around the small metal disc, and instantly, knowledge flooded his mind, a runic pattern. Words in an ancient language, a technique that required both godly power and mortal chakra. "Cover me," he shouted, dropping to one knee in the clearing center. His Amits formed a protective triangle around him without question, their trust momentarily overriding their confusion. Naruto placed the pendant on the ground, then slammed both blades of chaos into the earth on either side of it. The crimson tattoos on his skin flared with renewed intensity as he channeled dual energies, the rage-fueled power inherited from his father and the familiar blue chakra he'd used all his life. Words in an ancient Norse tongue spilled from his lips, each syllable carrying weight and consequence. The ground beneath him began to glow with interlocking runic patterns that spread outward in a rapidly expanding circle. Mi ld Sparta og Vanir Galder, Eg Loka Esseri Gat Mili Hema. He intoned, voice resonating with power beyond his 16 years. The runic circle flashed brilliant gold, then expanded outward in a shockwave that passed harmlessly through his teammates but caused each Draugr it touched to shriek in agony, their bodies crumbling to frost and ash. When the light faded, the clearing stood empty of enemies. The unnatural fog receded, and the strange snow began to melt under returned sunlight. Only the split boulder with its cave entrance remained as evidence that anything unusual had occurred. Naruto rose shakily to his feet, the blades of chaos still bound to his forearms but now quieter, their fiery glow dimmed to smoldering embers. The pendant had shattered, its purpose fulfilled. "What?" Sasuke said with deadly calm, "was that?" Before Naruto could formulate an answer, soft laughter echoed from the treeline. Hildur stepped forward, now accompanied by another armored woman, taller, with silver-white hair and a gentler countenance. "The son of Kratos shows his heritage at last," Hildur said with satisfaction. "Though your technique was sloppy, imprecise. Be gentle, sister," the second woman admonished. "He has only just discovered his nature." She turned kind eyes toward Naruto. "I am Ire, eldest of the Valkyrie sisters. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, have much to learn about your birthright." Kakashi stepped forward, kunai raised defensively. "You'll explain who you are and what connection you have to my student." Now, Ire regarded him with the patient amusement of an adult observing a child's bravado. "You're concerned as you credit, Hitaki Kakashi. But this matter extends beyond your authority or understanding. He is my student," Kakashi insisted. Though uncertainty tinged his voice. "He is the son of the god of war and the witch of the woods," Hildur countered. "Hidden in your realm for his protection, carrying a burden greater than even the nine-tailed fox sealed within him." Naruto stared at the Valkyries, pieces falling into place, the strange abilities he'd occasionally manifested, his unnaturally quick healing. The dreams of snowy mountains and ancient battles. "My parents, they weren't from this world?" he asked, voice small despite the power still humming through his veins. "Not originally," Ire confirmed, her expression softening. "They came here seeking refuge, hoping to spare you from the divine politics that had brought them both so much pain. When enemies discovered their location, they made arrangements for your safety. The Nine Tails attack provided convenient cover." Sakura gasped. "Are you saying the attack 16 years ago was connected to this?" "The boundaries between realms have always been thinnest in this land," Hildur explained. "The entity you call the nine-tailed fox is older and more complex than you know. It recognized divine blood and sought the child who carried it. This is insanity," Sasuke muttered, though his Sharingan remained fixed on the Valkyries, recording every detail. "Why now?" Naruto demanded. "Why reveal all this now?" "Because Odin has found you," Ire said gravely. "The All-Father seeks to control all realms, and a being who bridges worlds, who carries both divine power and the Nine Tails energy, represents both opportunity and threat." "And my parents?" Naruto asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. "Are they?" "Your mother watches from Valheim, unable to interfere directly without drawing Odin's attention," Hildur answered. "Your father, his fate is less certain. He vanished while fighting to protect the boundaries between worlds." Lightning cracked overhead again, though the sky had cleared moments before. Both Valkyries looked up sharply. "We cannot linger," Ire said urgently. "Heimdall watches. Already we risk much by speaking so openly." "But you can't just," Naruto began. "We must," Hildur interrupted. But we will return. The blades of chaos have awakened to your touch. Learn to master them. They are but the first key to your inheritance. When the moon waxes full, we will find you again, Ire promised. Until then, trust no dreams and beware those with golden eyes. The Valkyries stepped backward, their forms blurring. Where they had stood, two ravens launched skyward, circling once before disappearing into the clouds. Silence descended on the clearing. Naruto stood motionless, the blades of chaos still chained to his arms, the weight of revelation pressing down upon him. We need to report this to the Hokage, Kakashi finally said, though he sounded uncertain of how to even begin explaining what they'd witnessed. No, Naruto replied, surprising himself with his own certainty. Not yet, Naruto. This isn't something you can keep secret, Sakura argued. Those weren't normal enemies, and those weapons, whatever they are, aren't normal either. If what they said is true, Sasuke interjected, studying Naruto with new intensity, then reporting this could put the village at risk. If these gods are searching for him, broadcasting his location would be foolish. Thank you, Naruto said, genuinely surprised by Sasuke's support. Don't misunderstand, the Uchiha replied coldly. I still think you're an idiot. But if there's even a chance this, Oden could threaten Konoha. We need to understand the situation better before involving others. Kakashi sighed, conflicted between duty and pragmatism. 2 days, he finally decided. You have 2 days to figure out those weapons and whatever else is happening to you. Then we report to the Hokage, regardless of what we understand. Naruto nodded, grateful for even this small reprieve. His fingers traced chains now seemingly fused with his forearms. They should have felt foreign, invasive, yet they resonated with something deep within him, as if a missing piece had finally been restored. There's one thing I don't understand, Sakura said as they prepared to leave the clearing. If your father was this god of war, and your mother was some kind of witch goddess, then why? Why was I treated like garbage by the village? Naruto finished for her, a bitter smile twisting his lips. Good question. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they did, and they feared what I might become. Or maybe, Kakashi said quietly, someone wanted to ensure you develop the strength that comes from overcoming hardship. Gods or not, parents sometimes make choices they believe will ultimately protect their children, even if those choices cause pain. Quote, the journey back to Konoha passed in contemplative silence. The forest gradually returned to its familiar state, the strange atmospheric anomalies fading with each mile they covered. Yet Naruto sensed the change was merely dormant, not gone. Something fundamental had shifted in the fabric of reality, or perhaps only in his perception of it. By nightfall, they reached the village gates. The blades of chaos had retracted somehow, becoming intricate bracers around Naruto's wrists, still present but no longer obviously weapons. The crimson tattoos remained, however, standing out starkly against his tanned skin. Remember, Kakashi warned as they separated, 2 days. Naruto nodded, then made his way not to his apartment but to the isolated training ground where he often practiced alone. He needed space to experiment with these new weapons, to understand what they truly meant. Under the rising moon, he concentrated on the bracers, remembering naturally the blades had responded during combat. With a thought and a flick of his wrists, they extended once more, chains uncoiling, metal heating until the edges glowed with inner fire. Son of Kratos, he whispered, testing the words. Son of Freya. The names felt right in a way that defied explanation. He moved through experimental forms, the blades extending and retracting at his command. Cutting through air with deadly precision. Each movement awakened muscle memory he shouldn't possess, combat techniques honed through centuries of warfare. Hours passed as he practiced, pushing his limits. Discovering how these divine weapons interacted with his shinobi training. He found he could channel both chakra and whatever this other energy was, rage given form, his father's legacy, through the blades simultaneously. Creating effects neither power could achieve alone. Dawn found him exhausted but exhilarated, covered in sweat, small cuts and burns already healing with unnatural speed. He sat cross-legged in the center of the devastated training ground, blades retracted, eyes closed in meditation. I know you're there, he said without opening his eyes. You've been watching all night. Soft footsteps approached, And he looked up to see the youngest Valkyrie, Hildur, now dressed in simple civilian clothing rather than battle armor. Her raven feather cloak remained, however, marking her as something beyond human. You learn quickly, she observed, studying the destruction around them. Though your technique lacks refinement. I've had the weapons for less than a day, Naruto pointed out. And yet you've already discovered how to merge chakra with divine power, something neither of your parents fully mastered. She settled gracefully across from him. The others believed I should wait until the full moon. But I argued that leaving you untrained was more dangerous. Others, there are more of you. 5 Valkyrie sisters in total, Hildur confirmed. Each with our own domains, our own responsibilities. You've met. She leads us, governs healing and mercy. Then Gondel of fire and battle frenzy, Kara who commands storms and freedom, and Rota whose domain is honor and physical might. And you? Naruto asked. What's your domain? A smile curved her lips. Knowledge. Foresight. The spaces between certainties. I see patterns others miss, connections hidden from conventional view. Is that why you found me first? Precisely. She reached out, tracing one finger along the crimson tattoos on his arm. These marks identify you as a son of Kratos, who re the ashes of his first family upon his skin for eternity. But the patterns beneath. Her finger traced symbols invisible to normal sight. These speak of your mother's lineage among the Vanir, the gods of magic and fertility. Why can't I remember them? Naruto asked, the question that had burned within him since the cave. If they protected me, raised me for a time. Your mother placed powerful seals upon your memory. Hildur explained, partly to protect you from those who would hunt you, partly to allow you to grow without the burden of your heritage. Those seals have begun to fract. You are now that you've claimed your father's weapons. She stood, extending her hand to help him rise. Come, there's something else you must see before your friends awaken and complicate matters. Curious despite his exhaustion, Naruto followed her through the silent pre-dawn village. They moved like shadows, avoiding the few early risers and vigilant Anbu patrols with ease. Hildur led him to the Hokage monument. But instead of climbing it, she revealed a hidden entrance at its base, a narrow crevice that widened into a passage adorned with unfamiliar seals. This sanctuary was created by your mother, Hildur explained as they descended. A place where worlds touch, where she could work magic without detection. The passage opened into a circular chamber remarkably similar to the one where he'd found the blades of chaos. Here, however, the walls were covered not with scenes of battle but with intricate runic formulas and diagrams of cosmic architecture. Yggdrasil, the world tree, entered. End with a system of roots that Naruto recognized as a representation of chakra pathways. At the chamber's center stood a reflecting pool filled with water so still it appeared solid. Surrounding it, 9 stones formed a circle, each carved with both Norse runes and shinobi sealing formulas. What is this place? Naruto breathed, sensing power humming through every surface. A nexus point, Hildur replied. One of several your mother created to stabilize the boundaries between realms. Through these, she monitored the barriers, strengthened them when needed. She gestured to the pool. Look, but do not touch. The waters show truths to those of Vanir blood. Hesitantly, Naruto approached the pool. As he gazed into its depths, the surface rippled once, then resolved into images. A massive, pale-skinned warrior with crimson tattoos and a full beard fought against impossible odds, wielding the very blades now bound to Naruto's arms. Beside him, a beautiful woman with golden hair, NDED forces of nature with graceful gestures. Together they faced armies of Draugr, trolls, and darker entities that poured through a massive tear in reality. The scene shifted to show the same couple. In quieter moments, the warrior cradling an infant with gentle hands that belied their destructive power, the woman singing spells of protection while weaving patterns of light around the child's cradle. Then chaos, attackers from multiple realms converging, the warrior standing alone against them while the woman fled with their child, tears streaming down her face. A final desperate battle, the warrior overwhelmed but refusing to fall, buying time with his own blood. The woman appearing before an old man with white hair and red robes, Jiraiya, Naruto realized with shock. Entrusting the infant to him, placing seals upon the child's forehead, whispering promises to return when safe. A 9-tailed fox, massive and ancient, bowing its head before the woman. Words exchanged, an agreement reached. The fox allowing itself to be bound within the infant, another layer of protection and power for the child of gods. The images faded, leaving Naruto staring at his own reflection, now altered, He resemblance to the pale warrior unmistakable in the structure of his jaw, the set of his shoulders. They didn't abandon me, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. They were protecting me, at great cost, Hildur confirmed. Your father disappeared during that final battle. Many believe him dead, though no body was ever found. Your mother retreated to Valheim, using her remaining power to maintain the barriers between worlds from afar. And now those barriers are failing, Naruto concluded, remembering the Draugr, the strange environmental changes. Yes, something, or someone, works to weaken them deliberately. Hildur's expression darkened. Odin desires control of all realms. A world of powerful mortals who manipulate energy akin to magic without worshipping or depending upon gods. Such independence offends him, and I'm caught in the middle because of my bloodline. You are more than caught, Hildur corrected. You are the key, neither fully god nor fully mortal, Carrion. The power of a tailed beast that exists simultaneously in multiple planes of reality. You bridge worlds by your very existence. She approached the edge of the pool, waving her hand over its surface. The water shifted again, showing new images. 5 armored women standing in formation, each distinct in appearance and demeanor. The Valkyrie sisters have broken from Odin's service, she explained. We choose our own worthy now. Prepare for the conflicts to come. Your mother was once our queen, before her marriage to Baldur, before her exile. We honor that connection still. So you're here to what? Train me. Protect me. Use me against Odin. Hildur smiled enigmatically. Perhaps all of these things. Perhaps none. The future branches in many directions from this point. Morning light begged, and to filter into the chamber from unseen apertures above. Hildur glanced upward, her expression sharpening. Your time here must end for now. Your teammates grow concerned by your absence. Will you be back? Naruto asked, surprising himself with his eagerness to learn more. I will find you when you need guidance, she promised. The others will make themselves known in time. Ire first. She's to examine the interaction between your divine heritage and the 9 tails. She led him back through the passage to the monument's base. As they emerged into full daylight, she paused, studying him with those ancient eyes. One final warning, son of Kratos. The weapons you now bear hunger for battle, for blood. They were forged in the darkest moment of your father's life, tempered with rage and grief. They will influence you if you allow it. Push you toward violence when diplomacy might serve, toward vengeance when mercy would heal. I'll be careful, Naruto assured her, glancing down at the inconspicuous bracers. See that you are. She stepped back, her form already beginning to blur. Oh, and Naruto, the ramen shop owner and his daughter, they know more than they reveal. They were friends to your parents, once. Before he could question this bombshell, she vanished completely, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the weight of revelation. Naruto. Sakura's voice called from nearby. Where have you been? Kakashi-sensei is looking everywhere for you. He turned to face his approaching teammate, conscious of how fundamentally everything had changed in the span of a single day. Blood of gods, heart of shinobi. The words echoed in his mind, a truth that both liberated and burdened him. Sorry, he said, summoning a shadow of his usual grin. I got lost on the path of life. As they walked together toward the village center, Naruto felt the blades of chaos pulse gently against his skin, a reminder of heritage, of responsibility, of the journey now beginning. Whatever came next, whoever he truly was meant to become, one thing remained certain: the world as he knew it would never be the same. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, The Veil Between Worlds. Dawn broke over Konoha in ribbons of amber and gold. Finding Naruto already awake, sleep had proven elusive, his mind churning with revelations. The bracers encircling his wrists gleamed dully in the early morning light, innocent looking now, betraying nothing of their true nature. Son of Kratos, son of Freya. The words echoed in his consciousness, simultaneously foreign and familiar. He had spent 16 years wondering about his parents, constructing fantasies about who they might have been. The truth, it seemed, surpassed even his wildest imaginings. His small apartment felt suddenly claustrophobic. Rising from his bed, Naruto moved to the window and gazed across the village, the only home he'd ever known, yet now revealed to be merely one realm among many. Somewhere beyond the visible, his mother watched from Valheim. And his father, the uncertainty of Kratos' fate gnawed at him. Disappeared, Hildur had said, but not confirmed dead. Could a god even die? The questions multiplied without answers. With a frustrated sigh, Naruto dressed quickly, pulling his orange jacket over the bracers. He needed space to practice, to understand these weapons that seemed to whisper to him even in their dormant state. Kakashi had granted him 2 days before they reported to the Hokage, precious little time to master abilities he barely comprehended. He paused at Ichiraku Ramen, Hildur's parting words haunting him. The old man and his daughter knew more than they revealed. Had they been keeping secrets all these years, watching over him while pretending to be nothing more than friendly ramen vendors? The shop was just opening. Chuki arranging bowls behind the counter while Ayame wiped down surfaces. They looked up as he approached, their smiles so familiar, so seemingly uncomplicated. Naruto. Early as usual when it comes to ramen. Chuki greeted him warmly. Naruto studied the old man's face, searching for signs of deception, for any hint that he knew more about Naruto's origins than he'd ever let on. "What's wrong?" Ayame asked, noting his intense scrutiny. "You look like you've seen a ghost." The words hit uncomfortably close to the mark. The ghost of Sparta, Hildur had called his father. "Just hungry," he lied. Sliding onto a stool. "The usual, please." As Chuki prepared his miso ramen with extra pork, Naruto gathered his courage. "Old man," he began casually, "have you ever heard stories about other worlds? Places beyond our own?" Chuki's hands paused momentarily, the hesitation so brief anyone else might have missed it. Other worlds. Like in fairy tales. Maybe not fairy tales. Other realms. Places with different gods, different rules. The ramen chef set the bowl before Naruto with deliberate care. Strange questions so early in the morning. "Why do you ask?" Before Naruto could respond, a commotion erupted in the street outside. Shouts, running footsteps, the distinctive sound of shinobi moving with urgent purpose. "What now?" Ayame wondered, stepping toward the entrance. A Jonin Naruto vaguely recognized skidded to a halt before the shop. Emergency assembly at the Hokage Tower. All available shinobi. Something's happened at the northern border. The northern border, where they'd encountered the Draugr, where Naruto had found the Blades of Chaos. His stomach clenched with foreboding. "I have to go," he said, abandoning his untouched ramen. Chuki caught his arm as he rose. Grip surprisingly strong for a civilian. "Naruto," he said quietly, eyes conveying volumes more than his words, "be careful. Some doors, once opened, cannot be easily closed again." The statement confirmed Naruto's suspicions, but there was no time to press further. With a nod, he pulled away and sprinted toward the tower, joining streams of confused shinobi converging from all directions. In the assembly hall, the atmosphere crackled with tension. The Hokage stood grim-faced on the platform, flanked by Anbu captains and council members. Naruto spotted Akashi across the room and made his way toward him, noting Team 7 already assembled. "What's happening?" he asked, receiving only a terse head shake from his sensei. The third Hokage raised his hands for silence, his weathered face more serious than Naruto had seen it in years. "At 0400 hours this morning, our northern border outpost reported anomalous weather patterns and unidentified entities breaching our territory," he announced. Voice carrying despite its gravity. "By 0430, we lost all communication with the outpost. A response team dispatched at 0500 found the entire installation displaced." Murmurs rippled through the assembled shinobi. "Displaced?" someone asked. "What does that mean?" "The outpost building remains where it should be," the Hokage clarified, "but appears simultaneously to exist elsewhere. Those who approach report seeing a forest of white trees through the windows where our forces should be." The response team leader described the air around the structure as torn, with glimpses of a world covered in snow and ice. Naruto's pulse quickened. The descriptions matched what he'd seen in the visions at the reflecting pool, Helheim, realm of dishonorable dead, or perhaps Niflheim. The world of primordial ice. Furthermore, the Hokage continued, unknown entities have been sighted approaching our borders from the affected area. They appear humanoid would exhibit characteristics inconsistent with any known Kekkei Genkai or summoning technique. More Draugr, Naruto thought. Or worse, we are establishing a containment perimeter 5 kilometers from the anomaly. I am dispatching Anbu teams to investigate, with support from Jonin specialists in space-time ninjutsu and barrier techniques. The Hokage's eyes swept the room, settling briefly, meaningfully, on Naruto. For now, Genin teams will remain within village boundaries as our second line of defense. Chunin will coordinate civilian safety protocols. This situation is unprecedented, but we will respond with the strength and unity that has always defined Konoha. As the assembly dispersed with assigned tasks, Kakashi pulled Team 7 aside, his visible eye uncharacteristically serious. Hokage wants to speak with us privately, he said quietly. Particularly you, Naruto. The implication was clear. Their encounter with the Draugr, Naruto's newfound weapons, the strange women who called themselves Valkyries, all were suddenly relevant to village security. In the Hokage's office, Naruto fought the urge to fidget under the old man's penetrating gaze. The third had always shown him kindness, had protected him from the worst of the village's hostility. Now Naruto wondered how much the Hokage had known all along about his true parentage. Kakashi has briefed me on your encounter in the northern forest. The Hokage began without preamble. I need you to show me these weapons you acquired. Naruto hesitated, then extended his arms, willing the bracers to reveal their true form. The metal heated, expanded, chains uncoiling as the twin blades manifested in a burst of orange-red energy. The Hokage's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of his surprise. Remarkable, he murmured, and you say these belong to your father? Not the fourth Hokage, but someone else entirely. Yes, Naruto confirmed, throat dry. My father is called Kratos, the god of war, and my mother is Freya, a goddess from another realm. Saying it aloud still felt surreal, like reciting lines from someone else's story. I see. The Hokage's expression revealed nothing. And these Valkyries claimed that your parents concealed you here, in our world, for your protection. Yes, they said the Nine Tails attack was connected somehow, that the fox recognized divine blood and sought me out specifically. The Hokage exchanged glances with Kakashi, some unspoken communication passing between them. What I'm about to tell you has been classified at the highest level for 16 years, the third said finally. When the Nine Tails attacked Konoha, it did not appear randomly. Something, or someone, summoned it. We assumed Madara Uchiha was responsible, but there were inconsistencies. He moved to the window, gazing out at the village as he continued. Witnesses reported seeing tears in the very fabric of reality before the fox appeared, rifts similar to what we're observing now at the northern border. And the fourth Hokage's final sealing technique drew upon knowledge that, frankly, should have been beyond even his brilliant understanding. You're saying my father, the fourth, had help? Naruto asked, confused. I'm saying Minato Namikaze may indeed have sealed the Nine Tails into you, but he was not working alone. The Hokage turned back to face them. There were authors present that night whose identities we could never confirm. Individuals who disappeared immediately after the sealing was complete. My parents, Naruto breathed. And Jiraiya knew them. The Hokage's sharp intake of breath confirmed this unexpected connection. How did you? I saw it, in a vision. My mother giving me to Jiraiya, asking him to protect me. This explains much, the Hokage sighed. Jiraiya's insistence on being your godfather, his periodic checks on your development while claiming to be conducting research. Sasuke, who had been uncharacteristically silent, stepped forward. With respect, Hokage-sama. This historical review doesn't address our current situation. If these rifts are appearing again, if creatures from these other realms are invading, what is our strategy? Direct as always, young Uchiha. The Hokage's lips quirked in a humorless smile. Our strategy depends largely on understanding what we face. Which brings me back to you, Naruto. The weight of expectation settled heavily on Naruto's shoulders. I don't know much more than what I've already told you. The weapons respond to me because of my bloodline. The Draugr are undead warriors from a realm called Helheim. The rifts are weakening because someone, this Odin person, wants access to our world. Then perhaps, the Hokage suggested, it's time we consult the source of some of these answers directly. His gaze dropped meaningfully to Naruto's stomach, where the seal containing the nine-tailed fox lay hidden beneath his clothes. You want me to talk to the fox? Naruto asked, surprised. The idea of deliberately seeking communication with the entity he'd spent his life trying to contain seemed counterintuitive at best, dangerous at worst. If what these Valkyries told you is true, the Nine Tails may have knowledge crucial to understanding these rifts, and closing them. Kakashi nodded agreement. The basement level of Anbu headquarters has containment seals designed for worst-case scenarios. If something goes wrong, we can suppress the Nine Tails chakra immediately. Naruto looked between them, then at his teammates. Sakura appeared apprehensive but determined, Sasuke, calculating and focused. Neither objected to the plan. All right, he agreed finally. Let's have a chat with my fuzzy tenant. The Anbu facility lay beneath the Hokage monument, accessible only through heavily guarded passages that twisted and doubled back upon themselves, a deliberate maze designed to confuse and trap intruders. Naruto had never imagined such a place existed beneath the village he thought he knew so well. The containment chamber itself was massive, circular, its walls covered in sealing formulas so complex they made his eyes hurt to look at them directly. At the center lay a raised platform surrounded by 4 pillars. These will anchor a barrier around you, an Anbu captain explained, her face hidden behind a cat-shaped mask. Should the Nine Tails attempt to assert control, we can immediately suppress its chakra and break your connection. Naruto nodded, understanding the precautions even as a part of him bristled at being treated like a potential threat. The Nine Tails had never fully taken control of him before, not even in moments of extreme emotion. Still, this deliberate communication represented uncharted territory. Are you sure about this? Sakura asked quietly as he prepared to step onto the platform. We could find another way. Not in time, Naruto replied, surprised by his own certainty. Whatever's happening at the northern border is just the beginning. We need answers now. He settled cross-legged on the platform, the blades of chaos retracted into bracers but still warm against his skin. Around him, Anbu operatives activated the containment seals, creating a shimmer in the air as the barrier formed. Focus on the seal, Kakashi instructed from beyond the barrier. Find the place where your consciousness meets the Nine Tails. The weapons may help. They seem to respond to your bloodline, which appears connected to the fox somehow. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the familiar warmth in his abdomen where the seal had resided all his life. Usually, he avoided this sensation, treating the Nine Tails as something separate, something to be ignored unless absolutely necessary. Now, he deliberately reached toward it, invited the connection. The world fell away. When he opened his eyes again, he stood in a familiar sewer-like space, his mental representation of the seal. Before him loomed massive bars, and behind them, 2 enormous crimson eyes regarded him with ancient intelligence. So the Goatling finally seeks me out willingly, the Nine Tails rumbled, its voice echoing in the cavernous space. I wondered how long it would take. You knew, Naruto stated flatly. You knew who my parents were all along. The fox's massive muzzle curved in what might have been a smile. I am Kurama, child of the Sage of 6 Paths. Bridge between dimensions. Of course I knew. The stench of divine blood is unmistakable, even diluted as it is in your veins. Kurama, Naruto repeated, the name feeling significant somehow. You've never told me your name before. You never asked. Too busy denying my existence, fighting my power rather than understanding it. The fox, Kurama, shifted, tails swishing behind the bars. But circumstances change. The barriers weaken. What was separated must now converge. The rifts at the northern border, they're connected to the other realms. To Helheim and, what was it? Asgard. The 9 realms of Norse cosmology are merely one framework for understanding the multiverse, Kurama explained, sounding almost professorial. Your shinobi world exists at a nexus point where multiple cosmologies intersect. The Sage of 6 Paths understood this when he created ninjutsu, a system for manipulating the energies that flow between realms. The fox's eyes narrowed, focusing on the bracers still visible on Naruto's wrists even within this mental space. You found his weapons, the blades of chaos, your father's instruments of vengeance. You knew my father. We met, briefly. The god of war is not easily forgotten, a being of such rage, such power, yet tempered by unexpected compassion. He recognized in me a kindred spirit, a Kree, a Tur of destructive force who had lived long enough to question its purpose. Kurama leaned closer to the bars, massive face now fully visible in the dim light. When your mother realized she must hide you from Odin's sight, she sought me out, asked for my assistance. I agreed to be sealed within you, not as punishment, as you've been taught to believe, but as protection. My chakra masks your divine signature, making you appear as merely an unusual human rather than a godling. And should your divine blood ever fully awaken, the fox's expression turned grim. I would be there to help. You control powers that could otherwise tear you, and this entire realm, apart. The revelation stunned Naruto into momentary silence. The Nine Tails, the entity he'd been taught to fear and suppress, had been a guardian all along. If that's true, why attack Konoha 16 years ago? Why kill so many people? I did not attack willingly, Kurama growled, anger flashing in his ancient eyes. When your parents brought you to this realm, they drew attention. Something, followed. It possessed sufficient power to briefly control me, to turn me into a weapon against the very village where they sought to hide you. Odin, Naruto guessed. No, the All-Father works through agents, through manipulation. This was something else, something ancient that sensed divine blood ring this realm and sought to eliminate the potential threat. The fox's tails lashed in remembered fury. Your father fought it while your mother completed the sealing ritual with that white-haired sage. I have not sensed that specific entity since. And now, these rifts, these Draugr crossing over, what's causing that? The boundaries between realms have always been thinnest in this world, particularly in areas where chakra concentrates naturally. Your mother established anchor points, stabilizing runes, at these locations, maintaining separation. With her gone, confined to Valheim, these anchors weaken. Someone accelerates the process deliberately. Hildur mentioned Odin wanting control of all realms, Naruto remembered. Could he be causing this? The All-Father seeks dominion wherever possible. A world of mortals wielding powers akin to magic, yet free from divine oversight. Such independence would offend his sensibilities. Kurama's voice dripped with disdain. But Odin is cunning. He would not simply tear open rifts without purpose. He seeks something specific. Me, Naruto suggested. Perhaps. Or perhaps something else this realm contains. The fox studied him intently. The weapons you now bear, they respond to your divine blood, but they will also respond to my chakra if properly channeled. Together, they may temporarily seal the weakened boundaries. How? I barely understand how to use them in combat, let alone for sealing interdimensional rifts. Your blood remembers what your mind does not. Trust the instincts awakening within you. Kurama's massive form began to fade, the mental space dissolving. Time grows short. Return to your companions. Tell them what you've learned. And Naruto, the fox's eyes remained visible even as the rest of him faded. Remember that power, whatever its source, is merely a tool. Your will determines whether it creates or destroys. The connection broke. Naruto gasped, eyes lying open to find himself still seated on the platform, the barrier shimmering around him. Outside, anxious faces watched. Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, the Hokage, Anbu operatives with hands poised to activate suppression seals if necessary. Stand down, the Hokage ordered as Naruto's eyes focused. He's in control. The barrier dissolved, and Naruto rose shakily to his feet, mind reeling from the revelations. What did you learn? Kakashi asked immediately. Everything, Naruto replied, then more accurately, well, not everything, but enough to start making sense of this mess. He explained what Kurama had shared. The Nine Tails' true purpose as his protector, the nature of the realms and their interconnections, the stabilizing runes his mother had established that were now failing. Fox. Kurama believes the Blades of Chaos can help seal the rifts temporarily, he concluded. But I need to figure out how to properly channel both divine energy and chakra through them. The Hokage absorbed this information with remarkable composure. This confirms certain theories our researchers proposed after examining sealing formations discovered throughout Fire Country, formations unlike any traditional fuinjutsu, yet serving similar purposes. Your mother's work, Kakashi mused. Maintaining boundaries between worlds. Which means, Sasuke interjected, that if we can locate these formations, we might find clues about how to strengthen them. I know one location already, Naruto offered. A chamber beneath the Hokage monument. Hilder took me there yesterday. It contains a reflecting pool surrounded by 9 stones carved with runes. The Hokage's eyebrows rose. Directly beneath our most significant landmark. And none of our sensors ever detected it. It's shielded somehow, Naruto explained. You can only find the entrance if you know exactly where to look. Then that's where we start, the Hokage decided. Naruto, you'll lead a team to examine this chamber. Kakashi, select appropriate specialists to accompany them. Someone with sealing expertise would be ideal. What about the northern border? Sakura asked. The outpost that's been displaced. Anbu will maintain the containment perimeter while we gather more information. If these Draugr creatures attempt to advance further into our territory, we'll respond with force. The Hokage's weathered face hardened with resolve. Konoha has faced many threats in its history. We will face this one as we have all others, united, determined, and prepared. The meeting concluded with assignments distributed and timelines established. As they prepared to depart, Sasuke pulled Naruto aside, dark eyes intense. You're hiding something, he stated bluntly. Naruto blinked, genuinely confused. What? No, I told you everything Kurama said. Not about that, about those weapons. Sasuke nodded toward the bracers. When you used them against the Draugr, you moved differently. Fought differently, like you'd been training with them for years. Not minutes. The observation was uncomfortably accurate. I can't explain it, Naruto admitted. When I hold them, it's like muscle memory I shouldn't have. Someone else's combat experience flowing through me. Your father's, Sasuke concluded. You're channeling the god of war's battle knowledge. Maybe. Naruto flexed his wrists, feeling the bracers shift in response. It's not complete. I still make mistakes, still have to think about what I'm doing. But there's fragments, techniques I somehow know without learning. Sasuke considered this, then nodded once. Decision made. Train with me before we head to the chamber. If you're going to access these combat memories, you need to integrate them with your existing fighting style. Otherwise, you'll hesitate at critical moments. Caught between two different approaches. The offer surprised Naruto. Sasuke rarely volunteered to train together, preferring to perfect techniques in isolation. You're not freaked out by all this. Gods and other realms and me suddenly having divine blood. A ghost of a smile touched Sasuke's lips. Naruto, you've always been strange. Finding out your art god actually explains a lot about your impossible luck and stubborn refusal to die when you should. The backhanded acceptance, so typically Sasuke, made Naruto laugh despite the circumstances. Fine, let's train. But don't complain when I kick your ass with my fancy new god powers. In your dreams, loser, Sasuke retorted, the familiar rivalry temporarily overshadowing the cosmic revelations threatening to redefine their world. The training ground lay deserted in the mid-morning light, most shinobi assigned to emergency duties elsewhere in the village. Naruto stood opposite Sasuke, the blades of chaos fully extended, chains glowing with internal fire. Don't hold back, Sasuke instructed, activating his Sharingan. I need to see everything these weapons can do. Naruto nodded, settling into a stance that felt simultaneously foreign and natural, feet spread wider than his usual position, center of gravity lower, blades held loosely at his sides rather than in the forward guard typical of kunai fighting. Ready when you are, he called. Sasuke moved first, launching forward with blinding speed, Tanto blade gleaming. Naruto's response came without conscious thought, right blade whipping outward on its chain, forcing Sasuke to dodge sideways, directly into the path of the left blade's sweeping arc. The Uchiha barely evaded, Sharingan tracking the unusual attack patterns. Interesting, he commented. The reach changes the entire engagement distance. They're not just for slashing, Naruto discovered as they continued exchanging blows. The weapons responded to his intentions. Sometimes before he fully formed them, extending to create distance, retracting for close-quarter strikes, even acting as anchors to alter his movement midair. As the sparring intensified, Naruto felt something shifting within him. The barriers between instinct and learning, between inherited knowledge and personal experience, growing increasingly permeable. Combat techniques flowed through his consciousness. Chain blade combinations his muscles executed before his mind fully processed them, counters to attacks he'd never personally encountered. Your eyes, Sasuke said suddenly, disengaging to create distance between them. They're changing color. Naruto paused, surprised. What do you mean? When you fully engage with the weapons, your eyes shift from blue to amber. Like when you access the Nine Tails chakra, but different. Not red, not slitted. Just amber. The observation disturbed Naruto. How much was he changing? How much of this power was truly his to control, versus merely channeling his father's abilities? Let's try something else, Sasuke suggested, seeing his concern. Can you combine these weapons with your existing techniques? Shadow clones, Rasengan. The question sparked inspiration. Naruto formed his familiar cross seal, channeling chakra. Shadow clone jutsu. 5 perfect duplicates appeared, each bearing copies of the Blades of Chaos. Experimentally, one clone attempted to form a Rasengan while maintaining its grip on a blade. The spiraling chakra sphere formed normally, but when the clone attempted to combine it with the blade's energy, the result was explosive. A burst of combined power that dispelled the clone instantly and scorched the ground in a 3-meter radius. Needs work, Naruto admitted, wincing. But promising, Sasuke countered. If you can stabilize that combination, it would be devastating. They continued experimenting, discovering which shinobi techniques complemented the godly weapons and which conflicted catastrophically. Throughout, Naruto became increasingly aware of a second energy flowing alongside his chakra, something hotter, more primal, fueled by emotion rather than calculated control. Divine energy, he realized aloud. That's what Kurama meant. The weapons respond to both chakra and whatever power comes from my divine bloodline. Can you separate them? Control each independently. Naruto concentrated, focusing on the distinct sensations. Chakra felt familiar, cool, flowing, malleable. The divine energy burned hotter, responded to emotions rather than hand seals, and seemed centered in his blood rather than his spiritual, physical balance. Slowly, he managed to channel chakra through his right blade while divine energy flowed through the left. The visual difference was immediate. Blue energy spiraling along one chain, orange-red fire along the other. Now we're getting somewhere, Sasuke approved. If you can master this separation, you double your tactical options. The sound of slow clapping interrupted their training. Both young men turned to find a woman watching from the edge of the field, tall and elegant, with silver white hair and armor that gleamed like polished moonlight. Unlike Hilder's darker, raven-themed attire, this woman's armor featured healing runes and symbols of mercy etched into every plate. Impressive progress for one so newly awakened to his heritage, she commented. Voice melodious yet carrying an undercurrent of ancient power. Hilder was right about your adaptability. Naruto recognized her immediately from their brief encounter in the forest. Ire, the very same. She approached with measured steps, studying both young men with keen interest. Eldest of the Valkyrie sisters, though that means less than it once did since we broke from Odin's service. Sasuke shifted slightly, positioning himself at a better angle to observe both Naruto and the newcomer. You're the healer Valkyrie, he stated rather than asked, Sharingan still active. Ire smiled, seemingly unbothered by his scrutiny. Among other things, all Valkyries are warriors first, specialists second. But yes, healing falls within my domain. Her gaze returned to Naruto. And you, son of Kratos, appear to need some guidance in balancing the energies now awakening within you. You can teach me to control them? Naruto asked eagerly. To an extent, divine power differs from realm to realm, pantheon to pantheon. Your father's rage-fueled abilities, your mother's veneer magic, both flow in your veins, alongside this realm's chakra and the Nine Tails' unique energy. She shook her head, silver hair catching the light. Such a confluence has never existed before. You will ultimately forge your own path. We don't have time for philosophical discussions about his unique nature. Sasuke interjected impatiently. There are rifts opening along our borders, creatures invading our territory. Can you help seal these breaches or not? Rather than taking offense at his brusqueness, Ire seemed amused, direct and pragmatic. I see why Hildur finds your realm's mortals so refreshing. She turned serious again. Yes, I can help. The stabilizing G-points Freya established can be reinforced, though not permanently without her direct involvement. Then we should proceed to the chamber beneath the monument, Sasuke decided. Kakashi-sensei is assembling a team with sealing expertise to meet us there. A prudent approach, Ire agreed. But first, she moved toward Naruto with purpose, extending one elegant hand. Permit me to examine the interaction between your awakening divine blood and the 9 tails sealed within you. This balance is crucial to controlling the energies you've begun to manifest. Naruto hesitated only briefly before nodding. All right. Her palm came to rest lightly against his chest, directly over his heart. Immediately, a sensation of cool clarity washed through him, not invasive but illuminating, as if someone had switched on lights in previously darkened rooms of his awareness. Fascinating, she murmured, eyes slightly unfocused as she concentrated. The seal binding Kurama was brilliantly designed, not merely a prison but a symbiotic framework, allowing gradual integration. And these modifications, her fingers traced patterns in the air before his abdomen. Your mother's work, unmistakably. Ir runes adapted to this realm's sealing principles. Can you strengthen it? Sasuke asked, watching the process with unconcealed interest. It doesn't need strengthening, Ire replied. It needs balancing. The awakening of divine blood shifts the equilibrium established when Naruto was an infant. Her hand moved in a complex pattern, leaving faint silver traces in the air that sank into Naruto's body. There. This should help regulate the flow between chakra and divine energy, preventing one from overwhelming the other. The effect was immediate, a sense of internal harmony Naruto hadn't realized he was missing. The constant background tension of containing the 9 tails eased, replaced by a more balanced coexistence. That's incredible, he admitted, rolling his shoulders as if testing new muscles. Everything feels clearer somehow. A temporary adjustment only, Ire cautioned. Eventually, you must learn to maintain this balance yourself. But it will suffice for now. She stepped back, surveying her work with satisfaction. Now, let us proceed to this chamber. Time grows short. As if underlining her words, a distant rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. In the northern sky, dark clouds gathered unnaturally, swirling in patterns that defied meteorological explanation. What's happening? Sasuke demanded, eyes fixed on the anomaly. The barriers thin further, Ire replied grimly. We must hurry. Quote, The entrance to the hidden chamber proved difficult to locate even with Naruto's guidance. What had seemed obvious with Hildur now appeared as merely her unremarkable section of stone at the Hokage monument's base. It took Ire's intervention, a softly spoken phrase in an ancient language accompanied by a precise gesture, to reveal the narrow opening once more. Your mother's protections grow stronger as the barriers weaken, she explained. A defensive measure designed to prevent unauthorized access during times of vulnerability. Inside, they found Kakashi waiting with 2 specialists, a silver-haired woman Naruto recognized as Yugao Azuki, Anbu operative specializing in barrier techniques, and surprisingly, Iruka-sensei, whose expertise in foundational sealing principles made him valuable despite his ordinary Chunin rank. You found it, Kakashi observed as they entered, visible eye-taking in the Valkyrie with calculated assessment. And brought company. This is Ire, Naruto introduced quickly, eldest of the Valkyrie sisters. She can help reinforce the stabilizing points my mother created. If Kakashi was surprised by this development, he hid it well. The Hokage authorized cooperation with interdimensional allies, given the circumstances. Ire inclined her head in acknowledgement but wasted no time on pleasantries. This chamber serves as the primary anchor point for the barriers between realms in this region. 8 secondary nodes exist at cardinal and ordinal points surrounding your village, forming a protective matrix. Which explains why Konoha has never experienced these anomalies before, despite their occurrence in other regions, Yugao reasoned, examining the runic formations carved into the chamber walls. Precisely. Ire approached the reflecting pool at the chamber's center, its surface unnaturally still despite the tremors periodically shaking the ground. This functions as both monitor and control mechanism. Through it, we can observe the state of barriers throughout the region and channel energy to reinforce weakened sections. Uruka knelt beside one of the 9 stones surrounding the pool, tracing the carved symbols with careful fingers. These formations incorporate elements of our traditional sealing techniques, but modified, expanded. He looked up, expression thoughtful. Quote, "It's as if someone took the fundamental principles of Fuinjutsu and elevated them to a cosmic scale." Freya studied your realm's chakra systems extensively, Ire confirmed. She recognized the parallels between chakra networks and Yggdrasil's branches connecting the 9 realms. The genius was in creating a hybrid system that could function within both frameworks simultaneously. The ground shuddered again, more violently this time. The water in the reflecting pool rippled, the first movement they'd observed on its surface, and briefly displayed chaotic images: trees encased in ice, blue-skinned warriors marching in formation, a massive wolf howling at a blood-red moon. "The northern rift expands," Ire announced grimly. "We must act now." She positioned herself at the pool's edge, then gestured for Naruto to stand opposite her. "The blood of Freya flows in your veins. The pool will respond to you as it would to her, though less powerfully. Place your hands upon the water's surface. Do not fear, it will support your touch." Quote, Naruto complied, surprised when his palms met resistance rather than wetness. The pool's surface felt solid yet yielding, like touching a membrane between worlds. "Now," Ire instructed, "close your eyes and feel for the connections, threads of energy extending outward from this central point to the 8 nodes surrounding the village." Naruto concentrated, sensing what she described: golden filaments extending outward like spokes from a wheel, each terminating at a distant point where similar, smaller chambers must exist. Along several of these connections, the energy flickered and wavered, particularly the northern spoke, which appeared dangerously thin and fraying. "I see them," he confirmed. "The northern connection is failing. Channel your mother's energy through your hands," Ire directed. "Not your father's rage, not your shinobi chakra, but the cool, flowing power that responds to will and word rather than emotion." Naruto frowned in concentration, trying to isolate the specific energy she described. He'd barely begun to recognize the distinction between chakra and divine power. Now she wanted him to differentiate between types of divine energy. "I don't know how," he admitted, frustration evident. "Yes, you do," Ire countered calmly. "Your blood remembers. Think of growth, of healing, of protection. These are veneer domains, your mother's strengths." Naruto tried again, focusing on those concepts rather than the raw sensations. Gradually, he became aware of a different energy flow, neither the hot rage-fueled power associated with the blades of chaos nor the familiar balanced chakra he'd used all his life, but something cooler, more fluid, responding to intention and visualization rather than specific techniques. As this energy gathered in his palms, the water beneath them began to glow with soft golden light. The fraying connection to the northern node strengthened slightly, golden energy flowing along the Lin K-like water returning to a dried stream. "Good," Ire approved. "Now hold that flow steady while I complete the reinforcement pattern." She began to chant in that same ancient language, her voice melodious yet commanding. Around the chamber, the runic inscriptions responded, glowing with silvery light that pulsed in rhythm with her words. The 9 stones surrounding the pool activated sequentially, each releasing a beam of energy that converged above the water's surface, forming a complex 3-dimensional pattern resembling both a tree and a network of chakra pathways. "The pattern is established," Ire announced. "Now, Naruto, speak these words while maintaining the energy flow." She recited a phrase in Norse, which Naruto repeated carefully, feeling each syllable resonate with the power flowing through his hands. As the final word left his lips, the entire pattern flashed brilliantly, then sank into the pool's surface, disappearing like a stone dropped into still water. The Go-El-Den connections visible in his mind's eye pulsed once, twice, then stabilized, the fraying northern link restored to a semblance of its former strength. "It's working," he reported, opening his eyes to find everyone watching intently. "A temporary measure only," Ire cautioned, withdrawing her hands from the pool. "We've reinforced the existing framework, but without addressing the source of the deterioration. The barriers will begin weakening again within days, which buys us time to locate and seal the actual rifts," Kakashi concluded. "Precisely, and to discover who or what accelerates their deterioration." Ire straightened, her armor shifting with the movement. "Odin seeks entry to your realm, but even the All-Father cannot directly manipulate barriers established by Freya without assistance from within this world. You're suggesting someone here is helping him? Iruka asked, alarmed. Who would do that? Why? Power, knowledge, revenge. Ire shrugged elegantly. Odin offers compelling gifts to those willing to serve his purposes. And your world, like all others, contains individuals susceptible to such temptations. A new tremor shook the chamber, this one accompanied by a sound like distant thunder. The pool's surface rippled again, showing a new image, the village center, where a tear in reality was forming in the very air above the marketplace, edges glowing with unnatural blue light. Impossible, Ire breathed, genuine alarm crossing her features. The reinforcement should have prevented new breaches within the protected perimeter. Unless the attack comes from within the perimeter. Sasuke realized. Someone inside the village is creating a rift from our side. We need to move, Kakashi ordered. Yugao, inform the Hokage. Iruka, begin evacuation procedures for the market district. The rest of us will confront whatever's coming through that rift. As they raced from the chamber, Naruto fell into step beside Ire, questions burning despite the urgency. You said Odin needs help from someone in our world. Who would even know how to create rifts like this? Someone with knowledge of both cosmologies, she replied grimly. Someone who has studied your mother's work or communicated directly with entities from our realms. Like who? Jiraiya may be possible, though unlikely given his connection to your parents. Her expression darkened further. More concerning would be involvement from those with historic ties to dimensional manipulation, like the Uchiha clan. Naruto nearly stumbled. What? Sasuke's family. Not all Uchiha, Ire clarified quickly. But certain members of that clan throughout history have demonstrated unusual ability to perceive and even traverse the boundaries between dimensions. Their Sharingan evolved precisely because early Uchiha encountered beings from other realms and needed to defend against powers beyond ordinary comprehension. The revelation was disturbing on multiple levels, not least because it suggested Sasuke might have greater connection to these events than any of them realized. But there was no time to process the implications. They emerged from the monument passage into chaos. Above the village center, reality itself appeared to be tearing, a jagged vertical rift hanging in midair, edges flickering with cold blue fire. Market goers fled in panic as Anbu attempted to establish a perimeter around the anomaly. Even as they watched, the rift widened, revealing glimpses of a world covered in ice and mist. Niflheim, Ire identified, voice tight with concern. Realm of primordial ice and fog. Its denizens are hostile to warm-blooded life. As if summoned by her words, figures began to emerge from the rift. Humanoid but clearly not human, their skin pale blue and partially translucent, like living ice sculptures. They moved with unnatural fluidity, leaving frost patterns on every surface they touched. Frost revenants, Ire explained as they raced forward. Mindless extensions of Niflheim itself. They seek warmth to extinguish, life to freeze. The first revenants reached the ground, immediately attacking fleeing civilians. Their touch left instant frostbite, flesh blackening on contact. Anbu engaged with fire techniques, which proved effective but insufficient against the growing numbers pouring through the rift. Naruto extended the blades of chaos, the weep. Ons responding eagerly to the prospect of combat. How do we close the rift? Find whoever opened it, Ire instructed, drawing a silver spear that materialized from seemingly nowhere. The Connectio N requires constant maintenance from this side. Someone nearby channels energy into maintaining the breach. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, scanning the area with its enhanced perception. There, He pointed toward a rooftop where a cloaked figure stood, hands forming unfamiliar seals. That chakra signature is wrong somehow. Distorted. I'll handle the revenants, Ire decided. You three confront whoever opened this rift. Without their power sustaining it, I can force it closed. They split up, Ire wading into combat with devastating efficiency, her spear dissolving frost revenants with each precise strike. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Naruto moved toward the rooftop, approaching from different angles to prevent escape. As they drew closer, Naruto caught glimpses of their target, a tall figure in a black cloak decorated with red clouds, face hidden by an orange spiral mask with a single eye hole. Something about the mask tugged at Naruto's memory, though he couldn't place why. Careful, Kakashi warned over their communication devices. That's no ordinary shinobi. They converged simultaneously, surrounding the masked figure, who continued maintaining the hand seals that powered the rift. Ah, right on schedule. The figure spoke, voice unexpectedly light and casual despite the destruction unfolding below. The son of Kratos, come to play hero. How predictable. The familiar way he spoke, as if he knew Naruto personally, sent a chill down his spine. Who are you? Why are you doing this? Merely opening doors that should never have been closed, the masked man replied cryptically. This world was never meant to be isolated from the divine realms. Your mother's barriers are an abomination against the natural order. Natural order, Kakashi interrupted, sliding up his headband to reveal his Sharingan. You're destabilizing reality itself. I'm restoring it, the man corrected. Returning things to how they should be, all realms interconnected, as they were in the beginning. Without warning, Sasuke launched forward, sword crackling with lightning chakra. The masked man made no attempt to dodge. Instead, Sasuke passed straight through him as if he were an illusion. Staggering in momentary confusion, an Uchiha attacking an Uchiha, the masked man sighed. How tragically appropriate. What did you say? Sasuke demanded, whirling to face him. The masked man tapped the single eye hole in his spiral mask. Did you think your clan's eyes evolved naturally in this chakra-based world? No, the Sharingan was a gift, or curse, depending on perspective, from contact with realms beyond. Your ancestors were among the first to witness the gods walking between worlds. He formed another seal, and the rift above expanded further, edges tearing wider. More frost revenants poured through, overwhelming ire and the Anbu forces despite their valiant efforts. Naruto felt rage building, not the calculated anger of a shinobi, but something deeper, more primal. The blades of chaos responded, flames intensifying along their length as his eyes shifted to amber. Enough talk, he growled, voice deepening. Close the rift or I'll close it with your blood. The masked man tilted his head, studying Naruto with evident interest. There he is. The god of war's temperament emerges at last. But you're not ready to face me yet, Godeling. This is merely a test, a demonstration of what's to come. Before any of them could react, the masked man clapped his hands together in a final seal. The rift pulsed ominously, then began to contract, not closing completely but focusing its energy. A beam of frigid blue light shot downward from its center, striking the Hokage tower with devastating force. The ancient structure, symbol of Konoha's leadership and stability, began to crystallize from the top down, transforming into clear blue ice that spread with alarming speed. A parting gift, the masked man announced. A taste of Niflheim in the heart of your precious village. Let's see how your shinobi fare against cold no fire technique can melt. With those words, he began to distort, body spiraling inward around the eye hole of his mask until he vanished completely. Telly, a space-time technique unlike anything Naruto had ever witnessed. The tower. Sakura's voice came through their communication devices. There are people still inside. Naruto turned to see the Hokage tower now almost completely encased in unnatural ice, frost patterns spreading outward along connecting buildings. Even from this distance, he could see figures trapped within, frozen in place mid-motion. The Hokage, Kakashi demanded urgently. Safe, came Sakura's reply. He was at the academy when it happened. But council members, staff, visitors, dozens trapped inside. Naruto looked toward Ire, still battling frost revenants in the market square below. She caught his gaze and nodded once in understanding. They needed to close the rift before addressing the tower, otherwise, more enemies would continue pouring through. I'll get to Ire, Naruto decided. We'll seal that thing. Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke, help evacuate as many people as possible from the buildings surrounding the tower. That ice is spreading. Without waiting for agreement, he leapt from the rooftop, using the blades of chaos to swing between buildings with unprecedented mobility. He landed beside Ire just as she impaled 3 revenants simultaneously with her spear. The masked man disappeared, he reported breathlessly. Some kind of space-time technique. The rift is still active but focused on the tower now. A strategic strike, Ire observed grimly, freezing your leadership center, creating chaos and uncertainty. She dispatched another revenant with fluid grace. We need to close this breach before addressing the tower. That ice is Niflheim-born. It will resist conventional methods. Kurama said the blades can help seal rifts temporarily. What do I need to do? Ire considered briefly. Will continuing to combat the seemingly endless stream of frost revenants. The weapons respond to both your divine blood and chakra. Create a boundary, a circle of combined energy around the rift's projection point. I can channel Valkyrie magic through it to force the closure. Naruto nodded, then created a dozen shadow clones to clear a space beneath the rift. As they engaged the revenants, he took position directly under the pulsing tear. In reality, the blades of chaos extended to their full length. Ready when you are, he called to Ire. The Valkyrie disengaged from combat, allowing Anbu Foe RCES to contain the remaining revenants temporarily. She took position opposite Naruto, silver spear raised vertically. Begin the circle, she instructed. Channel both energies simultaneously, divine fire and chakra. Naruto began to spin, the blades of chaos extended outward like the radius of a circle. As he turned, he concentrated on merging the two distinct energies flowing through him, the hot, emotion-driven power of his father's bloodline and the cool, calculated chakra he'd trained with all his life. Where the blades passed, they left a trail of energy, orange-red divine fire intertwined with blue chakra, forming a perfect circle on the ground beneath the rift. When the circuit completed, the entire pattern flared brilliantly, rising upward like a cylinder of light surrounding the rift's manifestation point. Hold it steady, Ire commanded, driving her spear into the ground at the circle's edge. Silver energy, Valkyrie magic, flowed from her through the spear into the cylinder of light. The competing energies fought briefly before aligning, strengthening each other. The cylinder narrowed, constricting the rift's connection point like a tourniquet around a wound. Above, the tear in reality began to shrink, its edges pulling inward despite obvious resistance. The few remaining frost revenants outside the circle shuddered and collapsed into piles of quickly melting ice. As their connection to Niflheim weakened. It's working, Naruto exulted, maintaining his position despite the strain of channeling dual energies. Focus, Ire admonished. The final closure requires precision. The rift contracted further, now merely a sliver of blue light hanging in the air. With a final surge of combined power, Naruto's divine chakra hybrid and Ire's Valkyrie magic, the tear sealed completely, disappearing with a thunderclap that shook windows throughout the village. Naruto sagged to one knee, unexpectedly drained. The blades of chaos retracted automatically to their bracer form as his concentration wavered. Well done, Ire approved, retrieving her spear. For one so newly awakened to his heritage, your control is impressive. Thanks, he managed between breaths. But what about the tower? The people trapped inside. Ire's expression sobered as she turned toward the Hokage tower, now a massive crystal of blue ice shimmering in the afternoon sun. Niflheim ice is not easily melted. It exists partially in another reality, drawing cold from the primordial realm itself. But there must be a way to free them. There is, she confirmed. But it requires something you haven't yet accessed. Your mother's magic, her specific affinity for manipulating connections between realms. She studied him thoughtfully. The potential exists within you, but awakening Chi will take time we don't currently have. So what do? We adapt, Ire decided. I can temporarily transfer some of my ability to you, enough to affect the ice, though not completely dispel it. Combined with your Uzumaki vitality and chakra reserves, it might be sufficient to create safe passages through the structure, allowing extraction of those trapped within. Do it, Naruto agreed immediately. Whatever it takes. Ire placed her palm against his forehead, silver light flowing from her into him. The sensation was strange, not the raw power of his father's rage or the structured discipline of chakra. But something in between, knowledge rather than strength, understanding rather than technique. I've given you temporary insight into the nature of Niflheim ice, she explained. You'll be able to create pathways through it, though they won't last long. Work quickly. They joined Kakashi and Sasuke at the tower's base, where rescue teams had already assembled but stood help less before the unnatural ice that resisted all conventional techniques. The rift is closed, Naruto reported. But the tower's still frozen. Ire's given me a way to create temporary passages through the ice. How many people can you extract at once? Kakashi asked, All business despite the unprecedented situation. I don't know, Naruto admitted. I've never done this before. Start with the lower levels. Sasuke suggested practically. More people, easier extraction points. Naruto nodded, approaching the ice-encased entrance. He placed his palms against the frozen surface, feeling not just cold but a strange resistance, as if the ice itself possessed consciousness and rejected his touch. Drawing on the knowledge Ire had transferred, he visualized the ice not as solid matter but as energy locked in rigid patterns. With careful application of combined divine energy and chakra, he could temporarily disrupt those patterns, creating fluid pathways through otherwise impenetrable material. His hands glowed with soft golden light, not the fierce orange-red of his father's power but something gentler, more controlled. Where he touched, the ice responded, flowing away from his fingers like water parting around a stone. It's working, he murmured, pressing deeper, creating a tunnel large enough for people to pass through. As the passage extended into the building, they entered the first victims, administrative staff frozen in place, perfectly preserved in transparent ice. Naruto approached the nearest figure, a young woman clutching scrolls to her chest, her expression one of surprised horror. How do I free her without harming her? He asked Ire. The same technique, but more precisely applied, she instructed. Visualize separating her from the ice rather than melting it, disconnecting her from Niflheim's influence while maintaining her connection to this realm. Naruto placed his palms on either side of the woman's face, concentrating on the boundary between her and the ice encasing her. Golden light spread from his hands, outlining her form as the ice receded, releasing her in a rush of condensation. She gasped, collapsing forward into Sasuke's ready arms, shivering violently but alive. Get the others, she managed through chattering teeth. Second-floor council chamber, emergency meeting. They worked systematically through the building, Naruto creating passages while rescue teams followed, extracting the freed individuals. The work proved exhausting, each person requiring precise application of the technique Ire had shared. By time they reached the council chamber, Naruto's reserves, both chakra and divine energy, were dangerously low. Inside the chamber, they found the village elders and clan heads frozen mid-discussion. Arranged around the large circular table, among them, Naruto recognized Hinata's father, Sasuke's former guardian, and various prominent village leaders. So many at once, he breathed, surveying the challenge before him. I don't know if I have enough left. You must, Ire stated simply. These are your village's leaders. Without them, chaos will compound. Steeling himself, Naruto moved to the center of the table. Rather than addressing each frozen figure individually, he would attempt to clear the entire room at once, a far more ambitious application of the technique than anything he'd tried thus far. Everyone back, he ordered the rescue team. If this works, they'll all be free at once, disoriented, cold, possibly hostile until they understand what's happening. As the others retreated to the doorway, Naruto closed his eyes, centering himself. He drew on every remaining reserve, chakra, his father's rage, and the fleeting understanding of his mother's magic that Ire had temporarily granted him. Golden light enveloped his entire body as he slammed both palms against the table's surface. Release, he shouted, channeling everything he had into a single, overwhelming pulse. The ice throughout the chamber shattered, not into dangerous shards but into glittering mist that dissipated instantly. The council members collapsed like puppets with cut strings, gasping and shuddering as their bodies returned to normal temperature. Naruto swayed, darkness creeping at the edges of his vision. He'd pushed too far, drained too much. As consciousness began to fade, he felt strong hands catching him, not Kakashi's or Sasuke's, but Ire's, her touch already channeling restorative energy into his depleted system. Foolish but effective, she murmured, half amused, half concerned. You've certainly inherited your father's penchant for excessive force. Did it work? He managed weakly. Are they okay? See for yourself. With her support, Naruto straightened enough to observe the chamber. The council members were already recovering, attended by medical ninja who had rushed in behind them. The ice was completely gone from this room, though it remained throughout much of the rest of the tower. What happened? Demanded Hyuga Hiyashi, recovering more quickly than the others due to his rigorous training. Who is responsible for this attack? A masked man, Kakashi reported succinctly. Space-time ninjutsu user with the ability to become intangible. He opened a rift to another realm and channeled its energies into the tower. Another realm. One of the elders scoffed despite her shivering. Preposterous. This was clearly a new form of ice release jutsu. With respect, Elder, Sasuke interjected, Sharingan still active. What we witnessed was unlike any chakra-based technique I've ever seen. The Sharingan couldn't copy or even fully perceive it. Attention shifted to Ire, whose otherworldly appearance and armor made her impossible to dismiss as an ordinary ally. The Valkyrie met their suspicious gazes with the serene confidence of one accustomed to dealing with leaders and politicians. Your world faces interdimensional incursion, she stated simply. The barriers separating realms weaken, allowing entities like Frost Revenants to cross over. Without immediate action to reinforce these boundaries, such attacks will increase in frequency and severity. And who exactly are you? Danzo asked. Single visible eye narrowed with suspicion. I am Ire, eldest of the Valkyrie sisters, former servant to Odin All-Father, now protector of worthy souls across realms. She gestured toward Naruto, still leaning heavily on her support. I stand with the son of Kratos and Freya, whose heritage bridges our worlds and whose power may yet save both. He declaration drew shocked murmurs from the council members. All eyes turned to Naruto, seeing him perhaps for the first time not as the Nine Tails container or the village troublemaker, but as something far more complex. The boy is the son of gods. Danzo's voice dripped with skepticism. Absurd. In response, Naruto straightened, drawing on his last reserves of strength. The bracers on his wrists expanded, the blades of chaos materializing in a burst of flame. Simultaneously, the crimson tattoos marking his divine heritage flared to life across his skin, his eyes shifting from blue to amber. Believe what you want, he said, voice deeper than usual, resonating with power beyond his years. But the rifts are real. The danger is real, and I'm done hiding what I am. The council chamber fell silent, the evidence before them impossible to dismiss entirely. Finally, the Hokage spoke, having arrived during the confusion. We will adjourn to alternate facilities until the tower can be fully restored, he decided. Kakashi, maintain security around the affected area. Naruto, you and your ally will brief me fully on everything you know about these incursions and how to counter them. As the council members were escorted from the chamber, Naruto allowed the blades to retract, his strength nearly gone. Ire supported him toward the exit, her expression contemplative. Your world's leaders react much as those in any realm, she observed. Initial denial, reluctant acceptance, pragmatic adaptation. Will they help? Naruto asked quietly, or will they just see me as an even bigger threat now? They will do what leaders always do, protect their power while addressing the danger. The wise ones will recognize you as an asset rather than a threat. Her silver eyes held ancient wisdom. But never forget that your allegiance isn't solely to this village or even this realm. Your blood ties you to multiple worlds, multiple responsibilities. The reminder felt like a weight added to his already burdened shoulders. As they emerged from the tower into fading afternoon light, Naruto gazed across the village, buildings damaged, citizens being treated for frostbite and shock. Anbu establishing new security perimeters. All his life, he'd sought acknowledgement from these people, fought to prove his worth to a village that had viewed him with suspicion and fear. Now he possessed power beyond anything he'd imagined, a heritage spanning multiple realms, and responsibility that extended far beyond Konoha's walls. What happens next? He asked, not entirely sure what. He was questioning Ire or fate itself. Rest and recovery, she answered practically. Your reserves are dangerously depleted. Tomorrow, we begin proper training, not just with the blades of chaos, but with accessing your mother's magical abilities as well. And the masked man, he's still out there, planning who knows what. Indeed, Ire's expression darkened. His ability to manipulate dimensional boundaries suggests knowledge he shouldn't possess, or alliance with powers beyond this realm. Either possibility is concerning. As medical ninja approached to evaluate Naruto's condition, Ire stepped back. Her form already beginning to blur at the edges. I must consult with my sisters. Events accelerate faster than anticipated. Rest well, son of Kratos. Dawn will bring new challenges, and new allies. Before Naruto could question her meaning, she vanished completely, leaving only a faint scent of mountain air and healing herbs. Medical ninjas swarmed around him, guiding him toward a field hospital established in the academy grounds. Questions bombarded him from all sides, about the ice, about ire, about the strange weapons he'd manifested. Through the chaos, one thought provided unexpected comfort. For the first time in his life, he knew who he truly was. Son of Kratos, son of Freya, bridge between realms. The path ahead might be uncertain, fraught with danger and responsibility. But at least now he walked it with the knowledge of his heritage, and the growing power to face whatever came next. As darkness fell over Konoha, Naruto finally surrendered to exhaustion, slipping into dreams filled with snowy mountains, golden-haired women weaving spells of protection, and a pale warrior with crimson tattoos fighting endless battles against impossible odds. His father's battles, his mother's magic, his inheritance and burden both. Somewhere between sleeping and waking, he heard Kurama's voice rumble through his consciousness. The veil between worlds thins, Kit. Soon, all paths will converge, and you must be ready to stand at their intersection. In the northern sky beyond Konoha's walls, aurora-like lights shimmered where they never had before, colors impossible in nature. Patterns that spoke of other realms pressing against the weakening barriers. The night watched with ancient eyes as powers long separated began to converge once more upon the shinobi world. Chapter 2 End. The End. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.